this line here, there, and then there's a upward sloping line here. So even though the market is trading sideways, and it's trading sideways here between this line and this line, really. And why do I say that? Remember, in a trend, we look for higher highs and higher lows, but look at this. These highs and lows are just all over the place. Some are higher, some are lower. Okay, so we see that the market is moving into a sideways area, but in that sideways area, we have angled support and resistance lines. The key here, remember, is just to get the concept down. We'll go over very specific trading tactics around these lines in another section. Just focus on getting the idea down, how to draw the lines, what the lines are based on, how to get them. Remember, horizontal lines can be here, one point, or they can be a double point. It is better, in my humble estimation, actually it is a market pattern, it is better if you see two. So you want to see what is called the double top or the double bottom. The double bottom is at the bottom, the top is at the top. When you're drawing an angled line, you want to see at least two hits in order to draw the line. You never want to draw an angled line just trying to guess and by shooting one line out into space. That's a very, very bad idea. And I'll show you an example of what not to do. And that would be here, for example. You don't want to just try and draw a line like this. Can you see how there's no other high here? There's just nothing to base that line on, and I'm guessing. I'm just guessing in the direction. You never want to do that. You always want to make sure you have at least two hits on a line. So here, I could draw a line like this. And on the bottom, I can draw a line here because I've got two hits on that. I can draw a line here. See, I've got 1, 2 hits on that one. And I can draw a line. Whoops, got a bit carried away. My apologies. Here we go. Boom. I could draw a line there. You can see I've got 1, 2. The reason why we look for 2 points is to make sure that we're not guessing in the direction, and we want to make sure that we're looking for the obvious patterns. Now, one thing that hopefully you've seen, especially right here, is that this area is a bit confusing, isn't it? There are a lot of different ways to draw the line. There are a lot of overlapping lines. Remember, just like with the trends, if you're drawing angled lines and you're getting confused or just you've got a lot of lines overlapping, that's the clearest indication, the clearest hint that the market is moving sideways. When the market is trending, you're going to find that when you draw the angled lines, that price is very easy to see as it moves away from it. Same thing on the bottom. If you look at this line here, I mean, look at how close, or look at how easy it is to identify this trend. It's very, very easy. But as soon as the market moves into this area, it starts to get complicated. Remember, you want the obvious pattern. If it's not obvious, then that probably means that there is no trend. And if there's no trend, that means we don't have the ideal trade, which means we don't have momentum. Very, very critical information. This is a point that rookie traders miss, and it's a point that professional traders rely on. When a professional trader is looking at the chart and he just doesn't know what to do, that is his clue to stop trading. The last thing a professional trader wants is to try and make something up or make something happen. We want to make sure that it's obvious, it's clear. That way the most number of traders are going to be behind our trade and pushing the market in our direction. Now, I'm going to go over some trading lanes very, very quickly here, and then this will be the final piece of this section before we get into the actual market patterns. All right, in this final section, I'm going to go over trading lanes, and I'm going to show you how to draw them, what to look for on the chart, and then we'll start talking about some of the actual market patterns. Now, the thing to remember about the trading lane is the toolbar is right here on your MetaTrader platform, and in order to draw them, you simply click on the toolbar and then you apply them to your chart. Now, you can see I've already put one on the chart. I'll show you how to draw it in just a second. Now, here's the best way to use trading lanes. Trading lanes are a very easy way to identify trend. Now, what I mean by this is when you draw an angled line, sometimes you can get confused because you draw a line here and then you may see a line here, and it doesn't, you may not be able to tell what direction the market's going. If you use the trading lane, the trading lane will help you to identify the most obvious direction of trend. So you select the toolbar, connect the highs, and you can see that the computer automatically draws in this second line here. Now, hopefully you can see that an amazing thing happens. Remember, we drew the line off of this point and this point, right? But this angled line, look at how many times the market comes up and hits over and over and over right on or just beyond the line, and you can see finally it breaks here. So we have an easy to identify trend line and an easy to identify line of support and resistance. These trading lanes are a very, very common chart pattern. We look for these trading lanes for support and resistance, and we also look for them for what I call trend continuation or breakout trades. In other words, if the trend is down, I want to know when that trend is going to continue, because hopefully by now you've noticed that price just doesn't move in a straight line. It'll move down and then up and then down and then back up. Well, when price is moving down, let me show you a very real example. And this is something that as I was learning these techniques and as other professional traders took me under their wing, one of the things I did as a rookie trader years and years ago was if the market was moving down, as soon as I saw it was moving back up, I would get excited and I would want to buy. But the professional trader said, wait a minute, you have to look at what price is doing. And one thing that they hammered into me was wait for confirmation. The easiest way to wait for confirmation is to use your trading lanes and angled lines. As price is moving through and it starts to move through the line, this is where you start to get the clues. This is where we have the market's code. And the market's code will tell us whether it's likely that support will break or it's likely that support will hold. That's what we're going to get into in section number 5. So you have to remember that these lanes and these support lines are going to tell you if price is moving down and then it starts moving back up, the market's code will tell you whether or not it's likely that price will start moving back down again. That's the clue that we're looking for. The market code that happens right in here is what we can capitalize on, and this is what professional traders do. They wait for the market to tell them that it's either going to break through the line or it's going to hold the line. In either case, the market is always telling us what it's likely to do next. So the key here is to use the trading lane as a tool. Remember, don't use it religiously. It's not something that we look for price to exactly reverse off of this line and exactly reverse off of this line. We're simply using it as a guidepost. Remember, we talked about trading is like a freeway, and as you're driving down the freeway, you'll see that there are small signs along the way that will tell you there's an exit here and you better get off. Well, if you don't know what the sign means, then you just might continue going on down the road. It's very similar if you were in another country. If you can't read the signs because it's in a different language, you're not going to know when to take your turn. So what we're trying to do here is identify the signposts and crack this code that the market's giving us. Now I want to talk about some final patterns here, and then we'll move on into some of the advanced tactics in section number 3. Now remember, I talked about how the market makes different patterns like pennants and flags. Well, as we're looking through the market, we're not going to see this exact shape, but if we're moving through the chart here and we see something that looks very similar to a pennant or very similar to a flag, we have an opportunity to trade. Let me go ahead and delete this line here, and we'll go forward in the chart, and I'll flick through here, and we'll see if there are any easy to identify patterns on the chart. And actually, I can tell you what, one of them just leapt off of the chart at me right here. Here's an example of a flag pattern. Here's the flag pole. Here's the flag. Okay, remember, we look for the easy to identify ones. We're not trying to make things complicated, and we're not trying to find the hidden pattern. Here's another one. There's the pole, and here's the pennant. Now, hopefully you can sort of guess the difference, but I'll point it out for you. A pennant will usually, I shouldn't say usually, a pennant will have this shape to it. You see that? Where even if we drew it here, you see how the bottom is rounded? Well, it's just like a pennant. If you've ever been to a football game or rugby, it's very common. You see people holding the pennant where it's just a simple stick with a triangle flag on it. Whereas if you look at the country's flag, like the United States of America, well, it's got a rectangular flag on it, doesn't it? So here's the flag. Here is the pennant. Now, of course, it doesn't matter if you get the names mixed up for a little while. What's important is you remember how to find them, and then later on how to trade them. Now, they don't always have to be facing up like this. You can also have what is called an inverted flag or an inverted pennant. And what that simply means is it's upside down. And here's an example of an inverted flag. You see how it's upside down? Remember, here was the first flag that was regular, standing straight up. Here's the pennant. So this is the inverted flag right there in the middle. Remember, they may be difficult for you to see now, but I'm telling you, with a little bit of experience and a little bit of practice, you're going to be able to find these without even blinking an eye. So here's another one right here. There's the pennant right there. Now, you know, we've been looking at a daily for a while. Let's go down to an hourly bar and see what we can see. I'll just flick through here. In fact, I'll start highlighting. Here's an area. There's a trading lane, right? Of course, we've got angled lines of support and resistance.